Tonight on Chim's Talk Africa, my guest is Bukola Ayinde, a life coach, author, film producer, and a disability inclusion and mental health advocate. Bukola shares the story of being blessed by a child with special need and the lessons and the impact that this journey has taken her on. Tonight on Chim's Talk Africa. Please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody else.
From Cape Town to Cairo and from Mogadishu to Dakar, this is Chim's Talk Africa. Here's your host, Chim Onyibilanma.
Hi there, welcome to this segment of your show. Like I said in my introduction, my guest today is Bukola Ayinde. She's a lawyer as well as an advocate for mothers with special need children. Bukola, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Can I call you Buki?
Sure.
Now, Bukola, your child was born with cerebral palsy. Many people watching might not even know what CP is. Okay. I'll come back to that. But first of all, you're married, you expect you're going to give birth to a child soon. You've been dreaming of carrying that child. How did you feel when you were told that your child had a disability?
Well, it was as though my world was shattered. Where
were you at that time?
I was, my husband and I were at the hospital. So we're in front of our doctor. I mean, we had done series of tests. We've done the MRI to check the brain. We've done series of tests, and the outcome was, oh, the child has cerebral palsy. It's not curable. And later on, we had to see a neurologist who said, okay, if 5 is most affected and 1 is least affected, she is a 5. So that means she is having seriously affected. Yeah, cerebral palsy.
How did you feel then when you heard this?
We were devastated. You know, my husband being the man, you know, I think he has always been my bedrock. He was, you know, for him, he took it like a man. He took it well, I think, better than I did, because when you have when you're pregnant, you have all these dreams of what you expect, being your first child, the school your child will go, what your child will do, and you're telling you that your child can do this, your child can do that. I mean, it makes you weak, it makes you confused, it makes you feel as though you have a death sentence, in quotes, on your head.
And this probably lasted for some months and for a while. Just because you have to now go home with your pain, tell me how those months were.
So the very first, before I got the diagnosis, I'd seen a bit of, you know, as a mom, your child was supposed to meet this milestone, the child didn't meet that milestone. But as a Christian, you say, I reject it, not my portion and everything. So when I finally knew this was it, you know, of course, I spoke to my mom and she was like, man, this is the handwork of the devil. We have to go for deliverance. So I will take my daughter, we'll go to church, we'll go for prayers, we'll go for deliverance. And, you know, when I didn't get the result that I wanted, I became more depressed. You know, it was as though God had forsaken me. I mean, I'm a Christian, I pay my tithe, I'm a worker in church. I mean, why would this happen to me? And in Africa, you look around, you don't see such children in church, you don't see them in school, you don't see them in the malls. So how come in the 1 billion plus, it was me that, so what exactly? So I had questions for God. What exactly have I done that you could not tell me, you could not forgive me, that you had to punish me through this way? So I had so many questions. I was angry, I was bitter, and yet I had to pray and fast for healing. You know, so it was a myriad of feelings, emotions, confusion, you know, at that moment. And it went on for a while. then one day, my friend called me that there was this pastor. I stay on the island. There was this pastor on the mainland. I should go to his church for prayers. And that day, I went to his church, with my daughter and her caregiver. And on our way back, I almost had a terrible accident. I almost entered into a ditch. So when I got to my house, I sat down and said, Buki, what exactly are you looking for? And I decided, to hand over everything to God and to just rest. So it was at that moment I started finding my peace. I just calmed down. No more hustling here and there. Where's the next cure? Let's do this. I said I wasn't doing anything again. And at that moment, I began to have my peace.
How old was your child at this time?
Oh, she was just 18. I think she was not up to 1 year old.
No, up to 1 year.
Yeah.
And you had noticed, what were you noticing at that time that she wasn't able to do?
Okay, so at 4 months.
Maybe we should do this. Some people watching don't even know what CP is.
Exactly.
Just explain a bit what it is and tell us what you were noticing she wasn't doing.
Okay, so cerebral palsy is a brain, is an injury to the brain, usually either before birth, during birth, or after birth. So in my own daughter's case, I had preeclampsia, that's like protein in the urine. Then she was born preterm, and she was low weight. She was 1.2 kg at birth, Then she was in the incubator for a while. There she suffered loss of oxygen to the brain. So that was when she had the injury to the brain. So it's an injury to the brain that affects the muscles. And we need our muscles for everything, for movement, for crying, for breathing. So that's exactly what cerebral palsy is. A damage to the part of the brain that affects the muscles and movement.
So you probably noticed that 4 months she wasn't doing some things. At 10 months.
So at 4 months, actually, she wasn't able to hold her neck wasn't supporting her head.
Okay.
She wasn't able to roll over. She wasn't able to crawl. So some of the things that children should do at that age, she wasn't doing them.
So why I'm saying this is that there's some things people don't even know. They don't know that people who have the cerebral palsy doesn't mean that even though it affects the part of the brain that works with the nerves, it doesn't affect the intelligence and all that the brain has to do in terms of
yes.
reading and all that.
When you see a child with cerebral palsy, they look clumsy, they wobble. So
they're almost
in
falling.
our human mind, we believe, this child, let me use what they use in Africa, an imbecile.
Yeah.
Who cannot think, who cannot reason, so they just think, okay, the cognitive has been affected, and they believe the child cannot learn.
Yeah.
And because, yes, we have some children who have cerebral palsy, who have learning disability. And a neurotypical child too can have learning disability.
Yeah, even if it's fit and fine, yeah.
Exactly. So, but you should always presume that a child can learn.
So here you were trying to reconcile with the fact that what am I looking for? What has God? What are you really looking for, Buki, with the accident? But at what point did you reconcile the issue of God's goodness? You know what I mean? Remember that place where you said, "What have I done that God did this to me?" How have you been able to reconcile with God's goodness and the fact that He gave you this gift?
So for me, it wasn't just maybe something, I heard a voice or someone spoke to me or something. It's been a journey. So it was a journey of being still within, a journey of rediscovery, a journey of, learning who God is, and daily seeing little miracles. When people call me, "Oh, we've been praying for you, can she walk now?" And I'm trying to let them know that it is not malaria. I'm not treating malaria. It's not typhoid, But in spite of me not having her work, I have seen God in everything. I have seen daily miracles that I am happy for, and I have seen God come true for me even when I believe all hope is lost, and that kind of strengthened my faith in God. And when I tell people that it's actually a big faith for you to take your child that the doctor has said can't learn, can't sit, can't do this, to therapy every day and be paying money and be believing that one day this girl is going to work. And it's big faith for you to take a child to school to learn when they say she cannot learn. And that's trusting God that he will do the impossible. And I've seen him do that. And that has built my faith in him.
So what are you know that question you asked yourself when you had that accident, Buki, what are you looking for? Right now, what are you looking for in this journey with Nimi, your daughter?
So I've come to realize that oftentimes, especially as a believer, you don't just go through things for yourself. You go through things so that you can also help those that are coming behind. So for me, it has gone beyond me. It has gone beyond my child. You know, so I'm now using my experience to be a voice for families who have children with disability. I'm being a voice for children who have disability, that they are human beings, first of all, that Jesus died for them too. You know, so, I mean... And
that they should not be hidden away.
Exactly.
You know, when you said that we don't see them.
We don't.
We don't see them in church, we don't see them in school.
We don't.
It's not that they're not there, but many times they are locked up somewhere.
Yeah, and I can't blame the parents because the society has some faults as well. I mean, the children will come out and, you know, the families are... Labeled, or... you know, they call the father or the mother derogatory names. So nobody wants to be ostracized, nobody wants to be stigmatized. So because of that, they put up a front for the community to see, and they lock up the child in the house.
And we want to be the perfect family. We want to look as if we are...
Because the community has put that burden on the family.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you went on a crusade. This is one of your books.
Yes.
I don't have the one that is very popular. The Naked and Not Ashamed. I will have on the screen information of how people can get that book, Naked and Not Ashamed. But this is a book you wrote for children.
Yes.
My name is Nimi. Nimi is your daughter's name.
Yes.
And that's a cartoonish drawing of her on a wheelchair.
Yes.
And here you are trying to explain her humanness and the fact that she's an individual with beauty, with goals, with vision, which is many times what we rob those who are with disability of. We rob them of the individuality, the fact that this is a person. This is not malaria that the person has. This is a person.
Yes.
A
person before the disability.
Before the disability. Tell us a bit about what informed your desire to go on this crusade. I call it a crusade, but I'm talking about your starting the whole movement to help mothers. It's called you started what is called the Diary of a Special Needs Mom Initiative,
yes.
And the Psalm 4.
No. So Diary of a Special Needs Mom Initiative is an initiative under Philippians 4:13.
Philippians, so the P is not Psalms, it's Philippians 4:13.
Yes, Philippians 4:13 foundation, which means I can do all things. You know, even I've been told my daughter can't do anything.
Yes.
But I believe that she can do all things.
Okay.
You know, so why I wrote this book is because children were coming to my home and asking questions. They would say, oh, why can't Nimi walk? Why is she sitting on a wheelchair? Why are you feeding her? Why is she not talking? Because, I mean, until she was 4 years, she was completely nonverbal.
Okay.
You know, so I therefore decided to write this story told in her voice to educate children about her. Okay. Oh, this is what Nimi has. Oh, this is why she's sitting on a wheelchair. However, Nimi is just like you. She loves to eat this and this. She loves to watch cartoon, and she hopes to walk one day. So just to make it simple, and the outcome has been phenomenal. Children pick up this book and they know how to relate with her. However, the Diary of a Special Needs Mom Initiative, when I began my journey, I didn't have mothers who could really tell me what they were going through, because I believe they were also going through their own journey. And in Africa, you know, it's kind of shrouded in secrecy.
It's almost a taboo.
People don't want to talk about it, and I understand. But for me as a new mom, then I was confused. I was looking for who to talk to, books to read. There was none. So I realized that, okay, for the mothers that are coming behind me, I wanted them to have a kind of book to read, you know. So I went on Facebook and began to write my own story day by day. The first one I wrote was 30 Days in Hungary. That's in Budapest. I took my daughter to Budapest for a treatment, and I would share the pictures and I would tell the story. And people were coming to my DM, my private message, and say, "Oh, you're so bold. Do you know I have a child with disability as well?" And many mothers came to my DM to say, "Oh, I also have this challenge," but nobody was ready to talk. So after that, I wrote my story. Many mothers were now encouraged to share their own story.
And it's liberating.
Exactly. They were able to share their own stories. Now, today, schools in Lagos are talking about inclusive education. You know, so there has been progress, and that was what I wanted, because a friend of mine went to her pastor and said, "Oh, we should train the junior church teachers to be able to work with children with disability." And the pastor said, "Oh, we don't have such children here." And the person laughed, because people keep their children at home because the church is not accepting. We don't have.
There's no space for those kind of children.
It's not space. It's not just
we don't
space.
Create it. We don't create it.
It's not welcoming for people with disabilities. It's not welcoming. So when you go on the pulpit and the worship leader is trying to energize people and say, "Oh, if you have eyes, if you have legs, you know, jump up and praise the Lord." What about the man
person who has no
in
eyes?
the congregation who has no eyes?
No
He
legs.
has a much bigger faith. For him to come and worship God without eyes and legs, how do you want him to feel? You know, the junior church teachers are not trained on how to work with children with special needs. If you bring a child with disability and sit down on a row, maybe two people will not even sit down beside you. Or you know, so the church needs to understand that these children are not demonic.
Yeah.
So if we begin to change the narrative, you know, say it on the pulpit, these children are not demonic. God made us all. We are children of God. And we should show love,
beautiful.
kindness to one another. This is the kind of love Jesus was talking about, you know?
And it should start in the church.
Exactly, exactly.
You said somewhere that my special needs child saved my marriage. Tell me about that.
Okay, so of course, when you get married, you know, usually they said the man is from Moon or is it Mars, and the
other one is from
Venus.
Jupiter.
You know, so of course, when we got married, we had communication issue. We're like, I was like, is this what the whole marriage is all about? You know, but along the line, when my daughter came, we both had to calm down because we knew individually we couldn't handle it alone, but together, working as a team, we could face the challenge. So it's, we were humbled by the experience. We were listening more to each other, we're communicating better, and I think through that, we're able to find ourselves first as individuals, then as a couple, and I mean, it worked for my marriage. Unfortunately, for a lot of mothers that I have seen, having a child with special needs has broken a lot of homes. So unfortunately, for a lot of families that have children with special needs, homes have been broken. The couples have gone their separate ways.
Yeah, Bukola, you see, I would say, is it the special need child that is breaking the home, or is it our trials exposing what is in us? You get what I mean? Because sometimes just the stress of life exposes what we are. There are couples whose home have been broken because of poverty. Others have been broken because of prosperity. So it's not prosperity or poverty that broke it. It's actually what is in us. Do you get where I'm going to?
Yes. But what I usually tell couples is that when you get your child's diagnosis, the first person that needs help is not even the child.
It's you.
It's you.
You get it.
Because you need to accept your new reality, your new normal. So we all just focus on the child.
You're saying exactly.
Oh, the child needs help.
And we're struggling inside.
Exactly.
So the husband ends up finally fighting with the wife, not because of the child, but because he can't reconcile having this kind of child. He's failing inside, or she's failing inside. And what you said is so apt. The first person who needs help, you know, on the plane, when you get on the plane, they said, put on your own mask first before you put on the mask for the baby. We should say that to every special need parent. Put on the mask to get that oxygen from God first, before you start putting on the marks there. Buki, you've been such a blessing in sharing this. Your initiative today works to help. Can you tell us a bit more about some of the things you provide for people, or what people can get, and give us some information? Those who are parents out there listening to you can say, we want to tap into what you, of course we'll have on the screen details of how you can get there, but tell us a little bit more about the things you do.
Okay, so what we do is broken into two. The first part is the advocacy, changing the narrative in the African setting, which we do through storytelling to children. Because when I started in initiative, I will go to the government, I will go to the schools, I will go to the government, and I realized that there was a pushback. And it was because they didn't understand what inclusion was. They didn't understand what disability was. So I decided to, catch them young by talking to children who are young, so that when they grow up and they become Minister of Transportation, and they become governor, and they become commissioner, they will already have that in their mindset. And when I was in primary school, I saw this book I read this book about, so they know that people that have disability exist, and they are human beings who should enjoy fundamental human rights just like them. Then we have what we call the arts and DAC, whereby they come to paint, and we talk about disability. We've done writing competitions, just different programs for children to be able to learn about disability inclusion. Then on the other hand, we have working with mothers who have children with disability. So what we do is we do more of trainings for them and counseling. So on their personal emotions, their personal life, and their financial empowerment. Because most of them, we want them to be mentally stable to be able to take care of their children. And we need them to also do a form of business or career to be able to take care of themselves and their family. So those are the two main things that we do.
Okay, so Buki has just talked about what they do. You'll find that on the screen right now, information of how you can contact the foundation. You can find out from the information on the screen how you can contact Buki or her foundation, and they'll be able to answer your questions and give you more information. Buki, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
What's your last word to parents who are watching this, or maybe a child with disability who is watching this? Would you go ahead and look into the camera and say whatever comes from your heart to them?
I just want to say that to the mother and the father out there who has a child with special needs, God loves you. He cares about you and your special needs child. And to that person who has a disability, God cares about you, and He will make all things work together for your good. Amen.
Amen. That's Buki, or Bukola Ayinde. She's an author, a lawyer, an advocate for parents, especially mothers, taking care of children with disability. Buki, thank you so much for what you do. We would have the information on how people can get some of your books, both for children as well as for adults, as well as to follow you on your Facebook page. Thank you for joining us today, and well done for the great work you do. Please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody else.